So spring breakers are being urged to not travel to Mexico because of the drug wars and all of the violence there. You're smirking. Do you not agree?
Well, most spring breakers don't vacation in border towns. That's really where the trouble is. That's where the violence is. So no, I honestly, you asked, I don't agree. I think that, to say that you shouldn't go to Cancun, which is 1,100 miles away from Juarez, is like saying one shouldn't go to any part of America because someone's getting shot in Detroit. It's not fair, the geography doesn't bear it out, and numbers don't bear it out. The tourist zones in the major cities, yes, they have their rocky moments, just as many poorer countries will have it. All over the Caribbean is the same story, but Mexico gets a bad rap because the border towns are causing so much trouble in our border states. And I think it's really more about that. I wouldn't tell people to go to Juarez or Monterrey or Tijuana, but Acapulco has its issues. But in the tourist zone, they know very well that this is where the industry is and they need to protect it.
Are there any other destinations that you would say I would definitely not recommend going to just for safety issues?
Not recommend Jamaica. Jamaica, they don't have enough police staff, and they're kind of they're under-equipped as well, so that the resorts are having to make up a lot of the security.
And Ocho Rios is actually quite a popular vacation destination.
Yeah, what happens to the cruise ships will dump people off and come back, and there's a little more contained. But if you're going to be kind of wandering the countryside, or especially the inner cities in Jamaica, I don't recommend it. They have a lot of trouble, and even the American government agrees with me on that.
So you have some tips and advice for spring breakers, or if they're not listening, parents, so that everybody can have a safe trip. Let's talk about hotels first.
Yeah, one of my primary ones is pick one that's sort of in the middle of the tourist zone. This is simple logic, those safety in numbers. Again, we don't want to give people the idea that danger lurks around every corner, but these are just ways you can sort of just make sure that you're going to be extra safe. Another reason that I like a centrally located hotel is you don't have to drive many places. We all know, although we don't like to admit, that alcohol plays a big role in spring break. So, the less you have to travel in the car, the better. Someone else does the driving. You take public transportation or you walk to the beach. Great. Some other things that I think about a hotel. If you're staying on the beach, try not to get a room that's on the ground floor. Because they're more likely to be robbed. And beach hotels often have ground hotel rooms that open up to the outside because they were built in the 50s and 60s. So try to get one on the upper floor if you can, just to make sure no one can break in from that extra door.
And a lot of people don't realize that it is important to put things in a safe. I think they forget because they're on vacation and they kind of have that frame of mind. But
Sure.
Unfortunately, there have been plenty of issues with stealing items and.
It happens, not as often as you would think, but if the safe is in your room, you're much more, I think, secure than you are if you had to bring your valuables to the front desk and lock it up.
Now, you had mentioned the importance of scanning travel documents before you go away.
It's sort of a new thing that we didn't have to do 10, 15 years ago. We used to make Xeroxes of things and stuff them in socks and put them. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can scan it, put it up on like a Gmail or a Yahoo or any free Hotmail. Do they still have Hotmail? And use that. So anywhere you are, you can access and pull down your passport, your credit cards, your tickets, your reservations, anything basically.
Can you actually use the passport though in the event that no?
This is what you would bring to the consulate if you had a problem with your passport, and it smooths the whole process. They can see what the number was, and there it is. But no, you cannot use that to get through anything.
Now, are we putting ourselves at risk though with computer hackers? Because I was always of the mentality, write it on a piece of paper, lock it up in a drawer, and have mom or dad look at it. God forbid we need to.
Well, I would argue you're not putting yourself at any more risk than if you stuffed it in a sock and put it in your checked baggage, because someone could also take your checked baggage. So, not necessarily, but there are encryption programs you can use if you're truly concerned about that. But I don't think most scanned documents are opened up and read by everyone who happens to see them as they go by on the internet.
What about travel insurance?
I'm a big advocate of that, especially if you're going abroad. It's a great way to put your mind at ease, too, if your kid's going. It doesn't cost a lot, maybe $25 for a trip, if that. And if you break your leg, something happens to you when you're abroad, you can get flown home.
Now, are you buying?
It's really expensive if you had to pay for it yourself. You're buying to get flown home. You're buying local medical treatment, and you can also buy a trip cancellation so that if for some reason you plan this great spring break at the last minute you can't go, you get your money back. The only catch is you have to have bought it at least about a day ahead of time.
And are you buying through the specific carrier? I mean, I'm sure that doesn't include medical insurance.
No, the website that I usually tell people is insuremytrip.com. And what this sort of does is it aggregates a bunch of different vendors, and you can see them side by side and what they offer, and then pick the one that suits you the most.
You said around $25?
It depends on where you're going, how much you're spending. I mean, it's all by the destination. But yeah, I mean, I for example, a couple months ago, I did a big long hiking trip to Machu Picchu, Peru, and the trip, including a stop in Colombia, because that's in Peru, cost me about $35. So it wasn't a whole lot for a place that I would imagine would take a little more money to get me out of. So I would imagine that was a little more on the high end. But every trip is different. Depends how many people are going, but it's not much.
And that is
to
literally
add on top of a larger fee. There's just minimal. Like you wouldn't even realize.
And that's literally everything. That's your travel insurance. That's your medical insurance as well.
Yeah, they'll take care. There are different permutations. You can get medical insurance at the nearest hospital. You can get medical insurance at the hospital you tell them to take you to in the area. It depends on how much you're spending. But yeah, that sort of takes care of it. And then at the first available time, if you get that policy, they'll send you home. There are policies where they'll just treat you there, but you don't get to get sent home. You have to pay for that yourself. So
and I'm sure the cost varies on the duration of the trip as well, right?
Oh yeah, sure. For spring break, though, we're talking about a week or so, and again, about 25 is not an unusual number for that.
It certainly sounds worth $25.
I mean, if you're really worried about your health or safety in any place you go, use that. I was worried about Machu Picchu, Peru, because here I would be in the mountains. You know, there's not even a road for 40 miles. So what's going to happen to me if something bad, happens to my ankle or something? And I didn't worry so much about it after that.
And one last point, you said social media can actually help in a lot of ways while spring breakers are away.
I tell grown-ups with their own apartments or houses not to do this, because if you put out on Foursquare, guess where I am? Well, everyone else can see, he's not home, I'm going to rob him. Right. Same with Twitter and Facebook. But if you're a student and you want to get in touch with your parents or to tell people where you are and you have a dorm room and it's totally secure, I say use Foursquare. Check in there. Parents want to hassle their kids. They want to call them all the time, find out where they are. Right. And students really don't want, they start to lie by the fifth call. Like, yeah, I'm just a McDonald's mom, and really they're at the T-shirt contest. So check on Foursquare. That's a great way to let everybody know where you are. The parents feel like, they got a handle on it, and it's still kind of cool, too, at the same time. So it's a great way to use social media that I would not recommend an adult would use it.
Jason Cochran, great tips. We've got to get you back next week, at least for 4 in a row.
I know. When are we going to do the cooking segment that we keep talking about?
That's right. Come back next week for that.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, actually, Bryce will have to fill you in. We do have a new segment. Bryce has created a new challenge where he's asked create the recipes that we've talked about that our chefs have created at the Saturday Early Show. He did it last week. We want our chat room to do it. You should do it too. Come back with pictures.
Yeah, I don't know if you want me to cook. Really.
That's why we call it a challenge.
So, yeah.
It's a challenge to eat in my case. Anyway, you can find me on jasoncochran.com. Twitter at Bastable. Please follow me. And AOL Travel is where you can read me on a regular basis. And I love coming here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jason. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye, Bryce.
Bye-bye.